this idea of the difference between renovated and new construction properties in this market when properties are expensive, right? Prices have gone up, they continue to go up, cash flows are getting compressed. So people want to know the nuances, GC. And I guess we can just kind of start with, are there pros and cons to both or each?
Yeah, there are pros and cons. And especially for newer investors as well, it's very easy to just gravitate to something that looks better, cleaner, fresher, newer. So a lot of newer investors really gravitate to new construction homes. But it's really interesting, and we'll kind of go through some of the pros and cons. It's really interesting when you look at a new construction home versus a renovated home. If you have this long-term outlook which is based on buying and holding for a full market cycle so that all 5 profit centers can win, you end up largely in the same place, whether it's a new construction home or a renovated home. But the way that you get there is a little bit different. So when I say you end up in the same place, that means that your expected return on investment, whether it's new construction or renovations after you hold on to it for 10 or 20 years, is the same, which is why I love both of them. And I have both of them in my portfolio. But the way that you get there, a little bit different. So we can kind of go through some of the different pros and different cons and components. Is that where you think I should take this?
For you to just walk us down the way we get there. Buddy.
We'll go down this little twisty path where one of the fairy tales tells you to go.
Sounds good.
So when you are buying a renovated home, what you'll see is that your purchase price will be a little bit lower than if it was a new construction home. So win there, right? Less money out of pocket. It's a win for everybody there. So one of the pros of a renovated home is that it is a lower purchase price generally. Okay. Now your rents are going to be a little bit lower than for a renovated home than if it was a new construction home as well. But your rent to price ratio, the ratio from rents to prices for a renovated home, is a little bit better. So that's a pro for renovated homes, your rent to price ratio.
Lower price, lower rents, but in relation to each other, the rent tends to be a little higher than the usual mortgage payment.
Yeah. And it's slight. Like the differences I'm talking about here, we're going to end up in the same place where the expected return is the same. But if you get really granular, you'll see a slightly better rent to price ratio. Okay. So those are wins for renovated homes. Now on some of the other cost components, a little bit of there's some pros and some cons. We'll talk about another pro. So for a renovated home, a pro is that you're going to see less property taxes, and property taxes largely determined by the sales price of the home. It's not a direct correlation there, but that's a good general rule of thumb. So if you have lower purchase prices on average for renovated homes, you would also have lower property taxes as a general statement. So it's a win there. Now, here are some of the cons of a renovated home. Insurance costs, right? And that's been the topic du jour over the last, call it, 2 years here. Insurance rates in Florida. Well, for renovated homes, insurance premiums have gone up dramatically more than for new construction homes. Even before you had this recent increase in insurance costs, renovated homes always had higher insurance costs than new construction homes. And that's just because as building codes have gotten more strict and stringent and building materials and everything else has gotten better and better over the years, the loss for the insurance companies is less for a new construction home than a renovated home in general. And so they pass along that savings to new construction, whereas renovated homes always have a higher insurance premium than new construction does. So it's a little bit in the con category there. Columns categories. We're going down windy roads, man. I don't know where these columns are.
Right, I see the path. Keep looking straight forward. You got it.
All right. So for those who are keeping track at home, right? So lower purchase prices, better rent to price ratio, lower property taxes, higher insurance costs for renovations. Then for your maintenance and your vacancy costs, you're going to see some slight differences as well. All right. So for a renovated home, you're going to see slightly higher maintenance costs than if it's a new construction home. So for a renovated home, you would expect 7.5% of the rents that you collect each year. You're going to give that back in the form of maintenance costs. And where do I get that 7.5% from? It's from our data, baby. This isn't made up. At JWB, you love
The data flywheel.
the data flywheel. You love the data.
I love that.
I would get a smile out of you when I say data
I'm
flywheel.
into it, man.
So we have been tracking clients' maintenance costs, vacancy costs, returns. Every client that has purchased a home with us, and there's over 2,700 properties that have been purchased. And we've tracked all of their data since 2011 because we're their property manager and we deliver all of these returns and cash flow and all of these good things to clients. So it really helps us now when we need to understand, do renovated homes have slightly more maintenance than new construction homes? Well, it's not just me saying it or thinking it, it actually does. And it's cool to see that it's not that different too. So if it's 7.5% for maintenance costs estimated on an annual basis for a renovated home. On the new construction side, it's 4%. So you'll see slight difference. Is it something huge and astronomical that is totally going to change why you invest? No, you're going to have slightly higher maintenance costs for a renovated home, which should probably make sense for everybody. And then vacancy costs, even smaller difference there. So vacancy costs for a renovated home, slightly higher. So you'd expect 4% of loss, and that's compared to the rents that are collected each year. So 4% for vacancy cost for a renovated home. For a new construction home, it's 3%. So just very, very small difference there, but that's what we've been able to demonstrate after all of these years. So you take all that together and what you wind up with is you got some pluses, you got some pros, you got some cons, right? You got some higher costs in the form of insurance cost and slightly higher maintenance cost and vacancy and whatnot. And you end up at the same place in terms of cash flow, right? You end up largely in the same place in terms of cash flow. And then what most people don't think about is all 5 profit centers, right? Mm-hmm. But when you look at some of the other pros, we get into more and more of all 5 profit centers, you end up in the same place, not just for cash flows, but you end up in the same place for as expected returns. And that's at the end of the day, why I'm a big fan of both. And if you look at my portfolio, I own over 300 rental properties, been investing since 2006 here. The vast majority of the properties that I own are renovated homes. And it's because I've been able to see these properties grow by all 5 profit centers over time. And so I'm able to make this decision strictly based on the expected return on investment, not based on the year built.
Got it.